it should be way too early in the offseason for me to be giving out players that are extremely great values in fantasy football drafts. But unfortunately, there's just some players that are being criminally underdrafted right now or being overlooked. And I'm going to save you all the nonsense, none of that narrative stuff. These are 4 players you need to be drafting in fantasy before their ADP changes. So let's roll the intro. The first value in fantasy football that we need to take advantage of before it's gone is, and I can't believe I'm saying this, James Cook, the running back 14 on Underdog. I know, I was in that same boat and same kind of mindset of thinking just like you at home. He can't repeat that many touchdowns. He just simply can't. Last year was truly an anomaly, an outlier, if you will. And it's crazy to think, but now that he's the RB14 on Underdog, is it actually worthy of having a conversation of, is James Cook being underdrafted now? This may not have to be a player that you take with your first or second round pick anymore. You actually might be able to get a high-end RB2 or maybe even statistically an RB1 at a much better value than we think. As much as I didn't want to believe it in the early part of the offseason in March, April, and May, James Cook has a chance to repeat as an RB1, and now it's only the RB14 price tag on Underdog. Just looking at some of the names like Breece Hall, Kyron Williams, some of the players going ahead of him, I feel better honestly about James Cook because I'm getting a guy who's in a high-scoring offense. I'm getting a player that is in an offense catered to running the football and giving James Cook opportunities. I don't see why I wouldn't draft James Cook, to be honest. If your league mates don't feel comfortable with drafting him, that's totally fine. We're going to take advantage of this value. That is a value while it's still there. You know, maybe some people start getting tuned in with what Outlier Fantasy's saying, and then all of a sudden James Cook ADP is not a value anymore. But while it still is a value, take advantage of it in your Underdog drafts. The next value we cannot pass up in fantasy right now is Jakobi Meyers as the wide receiver 40 on Underdog. Yes, you heard that right. Wide receiver 40. Yes, the same Jakobi Meyers that's now getting an upgrade in quarterback play compared to last year. The same Jakobi Meyers that hasn't finished below wide receiver 29 since 2020. Yeah, that guy's going wide receiver 40. And I don't understand. Brock Bowers and Ashton Jeanty are definitely going to eat into his target share. But he was the wide receiver 19 with Brock Bowers being the best tight end in football last year. I'm just going to say it. Completely disregard Underdog ADP on Jakobi Meyers. If you have to, go ahead and take him around earlier. Make sure you get this player on your team because there's going to be plenty of targets, plenty of opportunity. And if they're bad, that's a bonus because they'll be trailing in games now where there's more opportunities for targets. Jakobi Meyers flat out is just a reliable wide receiver. And the wide receiver 40 price tag makes no sense, and we should definitely expect that to change in the next coming weeks. And if this wide receiver's ADP does not change, I will continue to draft Michael Pittman Jr. at wide receiver 50. Every single time. And I'm not the only one that feels this way, as compared to what his ADP was at the end of April to now, has skyrocketed, and he's still only the wide receiver 50. He's also never finished a single season below wide receiver 41. Tell me again why that makes sense. Tell me again why wide receiver 50 is appropriate for Michael Pittman Jr. We're talking about a guy that should be seeing 100 targets this year. A player going into his age 28 season, still around typically where we see wide receivers break out. And even though Michael Pittman Jr. is not in the most ideal or luxurious offense catered to him, he's still due for somewhat of a positive touchdown regression, as he has 11 touchdowns in 3 seasons. And this guy isn't someone that misses time a lot. A guy capable of commanding well over 100 targets every single year with low touchdowns doesn't make sense. Something has to give, and I think 2025 is the year where if you buy into Michael Pittman Jr., you will be rewarded handsomely with, someone that's flirting with top 25 numbers, potentially. The offense is a turnoff, but you would have been happy at the end of last year to be starting a guy like Jerry Jeudy, who's, again, not in a very good offense, but gets targets, gets receptions, and has a chance to fall in the end zone given every week. This last player, this one is my gift to you, Outlier Militia. If you've been in tune with the TikToks, the YouTube videos, the shorts, and all that good stuff over the years, I'm pretty good when it comes to the tight end position. I don't want to brag, but this is my platform, so I do get to brag. And in 2023, I was very confident that Jake Ferguson would have a breakout tight end season for the Cowboys, and that did come to fruition. In 2024, last year, I probably was the only person on YouTube considering or even convincing people to draft Jonnu Smith in fantasy football. And yeah, that didn't work out for the first 4 or 5 weeks, but that panned out after, man. If you held on to Jonnu Smith, you were rewarded. And this year in 2025, I'm really confident that Chiggy Okonkwo is a tight end value that we cannot pass up in fantasy football. And Chiggy Okonkwo is a real sleeper. People are drafting Darren Waller before Chiggy Okonkwo, a guy that was rapping and not even playing football a year ago. One thing we know about rookie quarterbacks, and guess what? The Titans drafted a rookie quarterback. Rookie quarterbacks love to throw to the tight end. Look at Zach Ertz last year. I bet you didn't think that season was going to happen. I didn't. Chiggy Okonkwo is also a player who's still fairly young, still really hasn't gotten any type of good quarterback play. This could potentially be the first of his actual good QB play in his career. And this is another player who's had just really unfortunate touchdown luck early on in his career. Maybe things will change with Cam Ward. Maybe another year in development could help Chiggy Okonkwo. But right now, regardless of even if he doesn't make it to your starting lineups, this is a value to draft. I mean, it costs you really nothing to potentially get a really efficient target getter in an offense where he's really only second to Calvin Ridley. They might be the worst offense going into the 2025, but if they're not throughout the whole entire regular season, then I would expect Chiggy Okonkwo to be an effective and starting fantasy tight end. And that's going to wrap it up for my 4 values we need to be taking advantage of before they're gone. I always like to try to find values all throughout the draft. So James Cook for the early round value getters. You like to take a really late round dart throw, I got you at the tight end spot. And in those middle rounds, you can't go wrong with Jakobi Meyers or Michael Pittman Jr. But if you stuck around for this entire video, thank you guys so much for watching. I truly appreciate it. Outlier Militia, you guys have been killing it on YouTube lately with the videos. I've never been consistently getting views like this. So thank you guys so much. Shout out to all of you supporters at home that tune in, that watch. Thank you. Can't do it without you. And if you're not subscribed, you're not part of Outlier Militia, it's not too late to join the team. You just gotta sign a couple forms down below in the comments, sign your life away. But yeah, other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Turtle. This is Outlier Fantasy, and I will see you, in the next video. Wow, you stuck to the end of this video? Thank you so much. If you're new here, make sure you check out one of these videos on the screen right now. And don't forget, before you leave, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any fantasy football videos on this channel. And that's all I got for you guys. I'll see you in the next one.